humans, it's just Martine, and today we're reading the second half of Kingdom Keepers 4. I almost said 2. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm going to leave the playlist right here. I'm rereading my favorite series. I'm on book 4. I skipped book 1. We're coming back to it because it was rewritten. It's a whole thing. But if you want my thoughts on the first half of this book, you're going to have to check out my last Kingdom Keepers video. Now, let's get to it. Finn said, wondering if the Overtakers had gotten control of his mom. And I don't know if it was on purpose, but that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call foreshadowing. No! We established earlier in the book that they were all 16. I didn't like it because it's not accurate, but it was said. And now, on page 223, no, I can't even say this out loud. It upsets me so much. Finn's mom says, yes, but you're 15. And Finn says, almost 16. And I go, the book says you are 16. How did this happen? Who let this happen? I'm so upset. This big inner monologue right here is about Philby's good qualities. It says, one of Philby's greatest qualities was his confidence. Blah, 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 blah. Philby lived with more pressure than most of them. This is not from Philby's perspective. This is Finn thinking this. And how confident Philby is one of the things I like about him. It's one of the reasons I like most of the Kingdom Keepers is they're pretty confident. It's the reason I relate with, say, Willa is that she's not confident. But the reason I admire some of them is to be so young and to be confident. And Philby is like, has the brains of Willa, but confident. And I think that's, now that I'm thinking about it, one of the reasons that I've always looked up to him, because I want to be smart and I want to be confident in it. So there's just that, and also the acknowledgement that, like, even though Finn feels the pressure of being the leader, like, Philby has a lot of the pressure on him to be right and to know what he's talking about and to spend the time looking at hundreds of fonts and knowing every fact about these rides and how to operate them and how to hack Disney World. Like, that's so much pressure, and just Finn actually mentioning it, good. And we're about to be on the scene that's on the front of the book, so that's cool. Philby is really out here having everybody's 26 character string ID memorized and pulling Wanda's phone number from literally thin air in the 3rd book. And Willa does not have Philby's phone number memorized in the slightest. That one's gotta hurt. But also, can we acknowledge how Finn's like, I'm the only one that's good at being all clear, and Willa has gone all clear so many times from sheer will and ferocity in this book. Another great Maybach line, what in the name of cream cheese are we doing here? Philby's like, if Finn is going to send me a signal, it better be something I'm gonna notice. Like, it better be huge. As if a couple pages ago, he literally didn't tell Finn his plan for sending him a signal. No one's going to mention that before Finn gets super strength at the end of book 5, he's a pretty weak individual. Like, slowest runners can't really do sit-ups in the first book, etc., etc. But you're going to tell me that he, like, football ran into Willa, picked her up on his shoulder, and outright ran? Insane. This is either a huge change of character or Finn Whitman is just dedicated to his friends. Why does Gladys Philby have Marge Simpson pajamas? I just want to see a movie or TV adaptation of the scene in this book where they cross back over and there's a rattlesnake, and the rattlesnake gets caught on Finn Whitman's ceiling fan, and his dad is like, what was that? And he's losing his mind, like going ballistic, and there is a rattlesnake like so close to attacking him. I just think it would be so funny to watch. Finn's school has a free dress day and a bunch of people are wearing costumes, and so it's making me really confused about his dress code for school, because he said that he felt stupid because he forgot about it, so he's just wearing his regular, like, t-shirt and shorts business or whatever. I'm like, usually, yeah, maybe people would wear costumes on, like, Halloween, but just randomly on a random free dress day? Kind of weird. Yes, I realize that I take literally everything too seriously, but it just said that Finn gave Amanda some information in US government class, and so I went to see the curriculum of Orange County because I know that personally in my hometown county in northern Florida, you don't typically take US government until 12th grade. Like, that's when most people take it. And again, no offense to Finn Whitman, but I don't feel like he's the type to be ahead in his coursework, going back to the Algebra 2 commentary in last video. And yeah, it seems like it works pretty much the same way in Orange County, that it would be more of an upperclassman thing because it's a half credit course, and that's just weird for like freshmen to specifically have to deal with. So yeah, there's that. I'm way too into this. I'm sorry. Maybeck throws out an idea that the spindle will work to reverse the curse. And Charlene says, that does make sense in a weird Maybeck kind of way. And I just think it's funny that he has his own brand of logic. Good Godfrey, said Maybeck. Okay, in like the first book and a half, Maybeck was their tech guy, right? This is a common thing in the fandom that is like super annoying to everyone. But it is most plainly annoying when Philby says something about like routers or hacking and stuff, and Maybeck says, English is spoken here. I know you know what he's talking about, Maybeck. Maybeck said, here's another idea. We lay a trap, capture the evil queen, and waterboard her until she tells us how to get Amanda back. Spindles? Seriously, what was I thinking? Brilliant. Okay, so they come up with this theory, and Wanda is totally on board with this. She's like, yes, I'm pretty sure that exact thing is happening, right? And it's that an Imagineer has betrayed them. I feel like that plot thread just gets dropped somewhere. I feel like we never revisit that. No park visitor would have recognized her with her dark hair up in a bun and a raised baseball cap worn backward. She looked tomboyish in a loose-fitting, man-tailored shirt and dark green capri pants. But for those who knew her well, there was no mistaking Willa. Come through! Charlene brings walkie-talkies for them to communicate since they've given up their phones for this, that her family uses on ski trips. But like, do they still go on ski trips, and like, do her mother and father both go? Because her parents are not in the same picture. You know what I mean? So, but cool that she goes skiing. Like, that's dope. Been thinking about expanding the Kingdom Keepers in the future and like including Dillard in that, and just foreshadowing. This just in, guys in robes, one of Maybeck's biggest fears. He hates guys in robes. Girls not so much, but guys give him the creeps. I don't know why Willa and Maybeck don't have more time to interact in this series, because they're great together. Because Maybeck's like, I like hanging out with you more than Charlene, which, first of all, rude, because in the future, you're gonna love her. But like, I like hanging out with you more than Charlene because we have the same energy level. Energy. And she's like, first of all, the comment about energy and vibes, we love, we stand, and I definitely think that's how Maybeck like understands people, so I love it. But then also, then Willa goes, you know, I kind of have a thing for Philby, right? And he's like, yeah, everyone knows that but Philby. And I'm like, amazing, and it's so clear that he like loves hanging out with her, but it's just a platonic thing, and I dig so hard. She asks him whether he prefers Terry or Donnie. She calls him Donnie because he's like, I don't actually give a crap. And then he makes a joke, and she says that's a very old joke, and he says, I'm an old soul, and I just love Maybeck. I want to be best friends with him. This whole conversation between them is great from start to finish. Willa's like, okay, so then you'll steal it. And Maybeck goes, why does the black kid have to steal it? And she's like, no, that's not it. First of all, you're just Maybeck, which, first of all, don't be colorblind. And second of all, you're a boy, and boys can do that better. And he's like, boys can steal better? And she's like, no, I'm not just saying that, but you know, if you're chicken, I'll do it. And he's like, okay, so you'll do it. And she's like, what? And he's like, good for you. You steal it. And I'm like, get her. If she says that's not it, make her do it. Yes. And she does it. She's like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And she's like, I've never stolen anything. And he goes like, I have? Yes. Good. Prove your point. Do it. Also, I love this Maybeck quote, hey, if you don't believe in yourself, then who will? Yes. Believe in yourself! Finn is asking Shan Yu what he wants, and Shan Yu's like, what does any man want? And Finn is thinking to himself, an Xbox? A PS3? And if only Finn Whitman could know that the PS5 came out this year, he'd be thrilled. Mrs. Whitman saying that if she was a kid, she'd want all of them to be her friends. It's so cute. I cry. Also, Willa and Maybeck hugging afterwards, being like, you were awesome, and Dillard doing a good job. Them meeting Shan Yu and Jafar and Mulan. This whole sequence is insane. The fact that there are Disney villains who are not paired up with the Overtakers is like heavily emphasized in this chapter. I don't know if it's ever resolved though, so we'll have to see. Also, Mulan like immediately brought them from Epcot to downtown Disney via the river. So Charlene is definitely still wearing like the acrobatics uniform that she has on from the show that she was in, doesn't she? Except she doesn't, because it's not mentioned or anything, but she is. Like the other Fairleys, Jess had never met her mother, had no idea if she had living relatives. Okay, so you know your parents were killed by pirates. And when you say, like the other Verleys, does that include Amanda? Because Amanda was with her family until she was 8. I feel like you had to know your family, right? Like, I'm just confused. I'm confused about Jess and Amanda and their histories. Does someone have a complete book about the history of Jess and Amanda? If so, please leave it down below. I would love for all of these things to make sense, but they don't. I know there's this whole thing in writing about showing, not telling, but I think it's okay to either come up with a different way to show this or just tell us that Philby is nervous when he reads this email. Because what I don't want to do is read a sentence like the one here. The email from Jess caused him to perspire. No, thank you. It's Minnie Mouse single-handedly bashing a pirate over the head with a wooden pin and knocking him unconscious for me. Also, Finn was like, Tom Sawyer Island isn't even important. Like, it's not that good of an attraction. Almost nobody goes to it. And I was like, that might be true, but hurtful. You're gonna write for Disney, under a Disney publishing company, and use slander like that, being like, Tom Sawyer Island? It's not that good. Last I heard, they weren't replacing it anytime soon. Ouch. To be fair, in all my trips to Disney World, I had never once been on Tom Sawyer Island until I was obsessed with the Kingdom Keepers. And I've only been on Tom Sawyer Island twice since then, so yeah. Okay, so Charlene and Maybeck are like debating their plan. Charlene says, well, who's more athletic? And Maybeck retorts, well, who's tougher? And although she doesn't respond, I've got to say, Maybeck, just take the L because she is tougher than you. No debate. Although I understand where Philby is going with this metaphor, and it does explain it, it's just really funny to read this sentence. At the same moment, Philby was comparing himself to a sponge left too long under the kitchen faucet. But even just stop, like, soon in the sentence. At the same moment, Philby was comparing himself to a sponge. Not in that he could soak everything up, just inanimate sponge. I don't know why. It's probably not funny, but I just thought it was for a second. An open letter to the alligator that lost part of its tail to the water wheel on Tom Sawyer Island that Finn Whitman single-handedly broke. Ouch. That must hurt. Charlene asks Maybeck if he's scared, and he says, I don't get scared. I get aware. But I'm very aware at the moment. Now the third person narrator is going to get sarcastic with us? I love this. The walls were decorated with signs warning of high voltage, death on contact. Nice calming stuff. The evil queen did that, Charlene said. Well, it wasn't Bambi. Thanks, Maybeck. Charlene says, okay, I'll climb down these pipes. And Maybeck goes, FYI, there are stairs over there. That might be easier. The absolute terror Del Philby must feel sitting on a closed toilet, laptop on his lap, Elvis the cat meowing through the door, and he's making this like sound to try and get Elvis to go away. And then 2 huge bangs on the door, and Philby like loses his mind. I am surprised he did not drop his computer right then and there. And then his mom says, Del? And he says, busy, as if it's not the middle of the night and he's in the powder room of all places. The audacity. Not only did he say in the first 2 pages of this book that Jess and Amanda were not Kingdom Keepers, after saying explicitly in book 3 that they were, but when Amanda pulls the keepers work in pairs line on him, which he made up, he thinks to himself, technically, she's not a keeper, but it seemed like the wrong time to remind her. The audacity of Finn Whitman. Maybeck gives himself away by immediately shouting when the Blue Jays attack him. But moments before, Charlene is climbing down a wall, holding on to really like hot pipes, and the Blue Jays rip out 2 chunks of her hair. Like her scalp is bleeding. She does not flinch. The Blue Jays head for Maybeck. He shouts, he ruins everything. God, but I love Maybeck anyway. They just, what a fool. See, Charlene is the tougher one. First, Philby's inner monologue goes, he'd wanted to ask her for the computer back, but thought she'd probably have hit him with it. Gladys Philby takedown. And then next, he doubted his mother would actually kill him. Was Gladys Philby an assassin in former life or something? Because she just scared the heck out of Philby again. Interesting thing that I'd never considered about Amanda's powers, because Jess, like, she can have dreams anywhere, it doesn't matter. But Amanda, so when she's a DHI and she's using her powers, it seems from the way that Jeannie Puckett just absolutely lost her mind, that Amanda puts her hands out as if she's pushing. But if the power comes from her, why does it not push wherever she is, too? Not just where her DHI is. Huh. Hugo Moncliffe's DHI has a shimmering green outline?
When Elvis meows a second time, Philby looks out his bedroom door as if he could see through walls. And so clearly from the as if, you get that Philby cannot see through walls. Also, this is something we already knew about Philby. But the third person narrator felt like mentioning, in parentheses, he could not. So it says Philby actually looked out his bedroom door as if he could see through walls. He could not. First, you're going to slander the name of Frank Philby for his beef jerky farts. And then you're going to say that Gladys Philby spoiled the cat like it was a rich uncle who might bequest his entire estate someday. Finn's really out here pretending that he doesn't struggle with Wayne's expectations. And then Amanda does not say one word about being a leader. I mean, she does, but like doesn't reference Finn at all. And then he says, "Who said I'm the leader?" You just did. A moment of clarity and truth from Finn Whitman. I'm not playing hero here. I'm afraid. I'm afraid to go to sleep. Afraid to go to school. I can't live like this. Which makes me feel bad for him. But he's still a fool. Quote, blood overcame photons. End quote. At this point, with the number of times Philby has been scared out of his mind in this one evening, I am surprised he's not dead. Philby is giving Lewowski outright threats. And Lewowski says, tough, you, nerd boy, think so? Nerd boy and lava girl. Big Mr. Greg Lewowski picks on a mother because he's too afraid of a kingdom keeper. Philby is such a badass in this scene. I mean, terrifying. Like, a part of Philby we've never seen, but also, yes. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna keep quoting the cool stuff that Philby is saying. You've seen what Finn can do. I know you have. Amanda too, I hear. How about me, Greg? What can I do? Did you think about that before you came into my house? Because you should have. Philby says a lot of stuff, but when it is time to deliver, it is Gladys Philby who kicks Greg Lewowski in the balls and then sprays bug spray in his eyes. Not Philby. Amanda once again saying what we're all thinking. Finn says, it's called strategy. Amanda retorts, it's called stupid. Finn tells Amanda to get back to the hub if he doesn't come back. Before the whole fight with Greg Lewowski, it was 12:51 in Philby's timeline. Now, in Charlene and Maybeck, there's 3 minutes till 1. And they're supposed to get back to the hub before 1 to cross over? I don't think so. Right, Finn says it's 12:59. He doesn't get crossed over exactly at 1, so that's fine. However, Philby says he has like 5 minutes to get them back on the backup power or something. The raft, they don't say this in the book, but the raft from Tom Sawyer Island moves incredibly slowly. So there's that. And then they land in Frontierland. So they gotta book it to the hub. Absolutely fly. So it could work, but like they're pushing it. No! Finn Whitman! How could you? He refers in the third person narrative, which we know is just Finn Whitman's thoughts. He refers to Wanda Alcott as an older lady, followed by, she had to be at least 30. Wanda asks when Finn got so grown up, and Finn apologizes saying he's tired. Yes, growing up just means being tired. I agree. Also, this is the second of the Kingdom Keepers that's been called grown up tonight. First it was Philby, now it's Finn, so. Not Mrs. Whitman saying, if your father finds out, you'll be looking for a new mother. The mention of Wayne's Mickey Mouse watch. I'm sorry, what frosts me? Philby said? What frosts me? Is that like a British saying or something? I know they'd probably say who in a normal voice, but when Ariel tells them that the pictures of Captain Peter, Philby, Finn, and Maybeck say who in unison, but I'm imagining who? That's the next Keepers installment, Finn says, and he's talking about installing the DHIs in the cruise line, but also the cruise line is the next Keepers installment, as in next book. That's funny. Okay, I just finished Kingdom Keepers 4 and I have thoughts. So it sets up so well for the next book. We cannot deny, and according to the last chapter, the opening of the DHIs on the cruise ship is in 2 weeks, so let's keep an eye on that timeline. The last sequence of this whole book, from the night when like Finn and Amanda are on Tom Sawyer Island and Charlene and Maybeck are at the Lake Buena Vista cogeneration facility to the actual prison break. It is pure insanity. I don't know, it's just such a good ending, and it gets Maleficent and Turnabog back out into the world to terrorize the Keepers, and I was so excited to read the end of this book and have it confirmed that the next book was going to take place on one of the Disney cruise ships. So I'll talk lots more about that when I actually read the 5th book with you guys. But overall, this book is really strong. There's so much of the other characters besides Finn, and I love that so much. It expands the world of the Keepers and the Overtakers specifically so much, and makes the stakes for the Kingdom Keepers bigger and bigger, which I really appreciate. I think it's really interesting because in the beginning of the series, the timeline like stretches out. So they have like the first book, and then they have a huge gap, and then the second book, and then a couple weeks pass, and then they have the 3rd book, and then they finish out the school year, they have summer, whatever, they come back, start of high school, we get the 4th book in 2 weeks time. It will be, well, a little less than 2 weeks because it starts not on the ship, cruise time. And then between the 5th and the 6th books, it's a cliffhanger, so it literally picks up right where the other leaves off. And then the 7th book takes place, this threw me at the time, and again, I'll discuss this more when I read the 7th book, but the 7th book takes place 2 years later. I can't. Except that doesn't really work because they're graduating high school in that one. I don't know. I'll keep up with the timeline as I go, but the fact that it gets like closer and closer and closer together until it's literally this book ends, the next book begins, and then years. So confusing. But anyway, great book. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up and comment down below. What are your thoughts? Are you excited for the next video in the series? What are you reading right now? And subscribe for more reading, writing, and college lifestyle content. And until next time, bye humans, bye!